We at Continental Eyewear, which is part of Milmead Optical Group, have for a long time sold a lot of children's eyewear. And I first got speaking to Dr. Thompson about 3 years ago. It made me realise that actually a lot of the eyewear we made was smaller adult frames and they weren't specifically designed to fit children's head shapes.
From years of frustration in practice about not having paediatric frames that are fit for purpose, I decided to look at what data frame manufacturers used in order to make their frames. And this wasn't based on evidence. It was basically based on taking an adult frame of adult proportions and scaling that down. So I decided then to embark on measuring children. That took me on a 7-year part-time PhD journey, and we've now got all the results. I measured over 1,300 children aged from birth to 16, and I captured their ethnicity as well as their gender, and also whether the child had Down syndrome. So that data is on open access, so anybody can pick up that data. And Milmead are one of the companies that picked up the data very early. We went on this journey together where they wanted to improve the fit of paediatric frames. Abdo members were demanding that they had better products so they could fit children better. And so we worked together on the designs, and it wasn't just taking the data, it was educating the design team in what we need as opticians. So for an optician, it's not about just changing the parameters of the frame, it's about giving us the adjustment properties that we need from that frame as well.
It's very, very important, especially these days with all the myopia control lenses and stuff, that the fit of the frames is more important on kids than it's ever been before. It was a real mission for us. With our designers, spent a huge amount of time developing all the products. We're always trying to balance the technical requirements of the frames with aesthetics as well, and comfort and all the other things. It's never just one thing to worry about, it's the whole package that's got to look right. And as you can see, we ended up with a lovely range.
When a child's face is developing, their bearing surface, so the area that the spectacle frame sits on, is very low and it's very wide. So the idea that a child has a very small, cute nose is actually not quite true. Basically, the bridge position needs to be much lower, and we need to have the wider angles and the wider linear measurements from that. In addition, we now know more about children's head width, so the width of the head across at the ear points and the temple width, and what ethnic variations we have on that. So the other elements we worked on as well with this range was the ability to adjust these so that they'll fit more of the population.
Now, all the frames have quite a lot of benefits, and they're all different in some ways. We have some metal ones, as you can see here. We have some acetate ones. Many of the acetate ones have got adjustable bridges for different heights. If you notice, the pantoscopic angles of the frames are quite flat, and all of the cores are all cylindrical, so they're much easier to cut, and we've even given you notches on the tips to cut. All of the acetate is eco-acetate, and the metal is all recycled metal. All the frames have a flex hinge on them.
The important thing is that we will get frames that sit in a stable and more comfortable manner on a child's face. I think it's all too much of a common sight when you see frames that slide down a child's nose, because the nasal profile that used to be produced is that of an adult, and the frame will then naturally slide. So this will hopefully counteract that with all the dimensions and all the data that they've incorporated into the design.
Our launch quantity is 16 SKUs. There's 8 models in 2 colours, boys and girls. The design box holds all 16 SKUs with space for the elastics and also for the case and the cloths. It's a real mixture of colours, some blues, blacks, pinks, silvers, and there's some crystals and metals as well. So you get a real feel. There's enough choice for every child, and I guess the core age we're looking at is kind of 1 to 7 or 1 to 8 years old, or that kind of core range of kids.